We had a client that we worked with, and she was really struggling with profitability. She kept raising tuition. She actually did 3 tuition increases within a 15-month cycle, and she still could not catch up. So I helped her work with our 6 money leaks in schools, and she only used 3 of the 6 money leaks and cut her expenses by 50%. 50. She did not fire anyone. She did not slash any of her programs, and she did not work more hours. Again, the 6 money leaks are not hacks or spreadsheets. These are patterns. They are small decisions that feel so normal that your school does, but they quietly drain your school's profit. So if you've ever wondered why you're working so hard, but still not seeing the return, this is your first step to clarity. Click the link in the show notes and find out what it's actually costing you. Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chani Wolshansky, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. I want to start today's conversation with what is one tough conversation that you're most proud of having in your own life?
Okay.
And personal, and also how it really shaped a lot of the husband, dad, leader you are today.
I've had a lot of tough conversations over the years. Like, I've been doing this marriage thing for a while, dad thing for 18 years. Didn't need the tough conversations younger, but as far as my wife goes, one of the most important tough conversations we've had is like, how do we communicate? And I know that's kind of meta, but really, as you connect with someone, I don't think I'm alone in this, but like, it's not always easy. And I've had to grow in my own capacity for being a good husband, being a good partner, being a good dad. So, one of the toughest conversations I've ever had is just with my wife about communication. And honestly, my issue that I was bringing to this is I wasn't fully present for her.
Say more about that.
I realized that, and it's one of my values too. If I'm talking to someone, I want them to acknowledge that I'm talking to them, that they're listening. And many times I'm not demonstrating that own thing until this clicked in my brain, I guess. My wife and I are both very busy. We work together. We actually wrote the book together, How to Have Tough Conversations, which is not the easiest thing to do with your wife and husband, I'm sure. But as far as like my journey of understanding the personal side of tough conversations, it was learning to be fully present, not partially present, which we all are. We're hearing things. One of the things I do, and I don't know where I came up with this, but I want to physically show that I'm being present. So if I'm on my phone, I put my phone down, face down. If I'm on my laptop and she walks in the room and she talks to tell me about her day or something, I will want to close the laptop. I'll want to mute the TV. I'm going to make an action. I don't require her to do the same thing. I do appreciate it. But I have to lead by example and just do it. And I've done that for years. And I feel really good about that move so that I can be more present. I can listen better. And she knows I'm actually listening to her.
One of the things you write in your book a lot is, tough conversations is about caring. And I mean, there's so many things. This is one thing that really stood out to me. And when I hear about what you're saying, relational and emotional presence during a conversation, that signals so much of the care before you utter a single word.
Yeah. It's amazing how little we think about communication. Get out of high school, maybe for some people it's college, and we just show up in life. But what really is necessary for us to connect with others is to be in conversation, to listen, not to listen to respond. I know we've probably already heard that cliche, but to listen, to really listen. I had a coaching client today, and I asked her, if you're the CEO of the company, she's not, but if you were, pretend, what would you fix? She went through two things pretty confidently, and then the third one, she came back and said, oh, I would do it. I think this. And you could just hear that she was not confident about that third thing. And I asked her, do you feel the way you said that? And she's like, she starts laughing. I laugh. It's because we don't take time to really think about how we're showing up and how we could make some small shifts to really be present, really listen, and create that level of care that you were talking about. And it's absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything to show people that you care and that you're listening.
When you talk about, it's free, it doesn't cost anything to show someone that you care, it does require time. And when I think about the audience that's listening, all school leaders, primarily probably 99% are female leaders. And the nurturer, we come from this place of the stakes are so high, there's so much at stake. I just need you to do this. I just want to control this. And you talk about control in your book as well. The time component, I find, is the biggest excuse and the biggest hiccup or blockade, if you will, almost, where leaders struggle to really stay present and grounded in a tough conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I'll share it with everyone here. You don't have to read the book. I'll give you everything I can.
Thank you, Gene.
But if you think a conversation is a small one, you may make up in your mind as you prepare, which is another part of the process, making sure you go in prepared. But if you think it's going to be a small issue and it should take 10 minutes, be able to say what I need to say, maybe even listen to them a little bit, but you've thought about it for a day, 2 days, a week, maybe longer. I've talked to people who thought about something for 6 months before they had decided to address it.
Yeah, sure.
You've thought about it 7 ways from Sunday, and you get in that conversation, and what happens? They're blindsided. They're not asking for feedback going, where can I improve? You're sitting down with a tough conversation going, hey, we got to talk about something that's serious. And you give them that moment, and they may feel triggered. They may feel defensive. And those things take a lot of time to get to the real conversation, because you got to get past the defensiveness.
All of it. Yeah.
And so rule of thumb is, if you think it's 10 minutes, give yourself 3 times the amount of time. 30 minutes. If you get some of that time back, great. But what you don't want to happen is to rush the tough conversation and go, I think they got it. I got it. I got off my chest what I needed to say. I'd rather you do is end the conversation with a little bit of the breathing room. Is like, okay, I really appreciate you standing in this. And like, how do you feel about this now? What is your next step? Whatever the right questions are, in the book, we will also say, create a tactical plan. And most of the time, the tactical plan is, when should we revisit this to look at your plan? Or when should we discuss your progress on this? Or when should we just look at this again to see how you were handling it?
Yeah.
And I call that, it's sort of the meeting after the meeting, but it's a tough conversation is never one and done. And I say that with a smile because my wife and I talk about one and done all the time. Everyone wants the tough conversation to be, I had it and I don't have to think about it again. What we've seen in the data, what we've seen in our coaching, what we've seen throughout the process of helping people address people problems is that you've got to be patient. You've got to give it the time to breathe. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. I know all these things we know, but we don't behave that way in these conversations.
No.
And so patience is a key. And I'll wrap it up with this thing because I think it's pretty interesting. Every time I ask someone, does it take longer to do the tough conversation the way we are suggesting? And the answer is yes, it does take longer. You've got to prepare. You've got to come in with your ducks in a row. You've got to show up. You've got to give the time a chance for dialogue. It's not you just telling them that they're out of alignment and got to fix all these things. Maybe that comes a little bit later. But the first conversation is really going to be a little bit slower. And so that they walk away going, you know what, I feel heard because of that. I feel appreciated because I got my perspective out. They ask questions about it. We're both in sync. And what we've seen with that data is those that take the time up front takes a little bit more time. But if you don't have to have the conversation a second time, you don't have to stress over it, the third and the fourth and the fifth month of this thing, it changes everything. It's much faster if you do it well the first time.
So while I was going through the book, and I've heard you say like one and done, and, conversations are an ongoing, dialogue. I thought about the Gottman Institute, right, of marriage, and him and his wife have all this research. And one of the things that they often talk about, and Esther Perella's quoted this many times, that in the context of marriage, but really in any relationship, talks about how 69% of problems in a marriage never get resolved. They get managed better. And I often think about that in the context of school leadership, that in the relationship between an owner and director, a director and a teacher, there are so many challenges and issues that you will enter tough conversations for. And you're coming in with this bias of, it's going to be a one and done, or maybe it's going to be 3 conversations, but we're going to resolve this. It's going to be solved. But there are so many issues that actually don't really get resolved in the way that you desire, but they get managed better. So I would love to hear your perspective on this and how the tough conversation gets navigated when it's actually not this and now we hit the goalpost.
Yeah. When you're talking about marriages, we've got to say up front that there's a big emotional lift within the marriages. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of expectations that are sometimes unsaid. And that's can be dangerous.
A lot of the time. Yeah.
And not everything has got a buttoned up solution.
There you go.
Yeah. It's understanding each other. Maybe that's the goal of the tough conversation is, yes, I want to understand you. I'd love for you to take a moment and understand me. We look at it together and go, okay, now we need to move forward. So take kids, parenting.
Yeah.
Some people believe we should be much more stern with kids. Some people think we should snap at them, yell at them. And I know it happens. They push our buttons all the time. I'm sure that it happens in schools. It happens in our house. Yeah. I only have one kid, so I've got, but he's really smart.
Yeah.
You're not there to fix them. You're there to understand them.
Yeah.
You're there to understand your wife or your husband or your partner, whatever it is. Yeah. And if that's the mode at which that type of tough conversation is, you're successful because it may never go away. It's just, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Do you understand that? And I'll tell you one of the things in our marriage, I'm pretty open and transparent these things. My wife has struggled with sleeping. And when I don't sleep well, she doesn't sleep well, even worse. I know that's terrible grammar, but I'm not going to fix it. But what I'm going to do is listen to her and try to understand her and be as patient as possible with her, because this is something that she's been working on with her doctor. She's been working on with her medicines and hormones and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Never probably going to go away. It's me understanding that when I wake up in the middle of the night and I turn on my phone or I got sound on, that I'm being so disrespectful to her in her sleep that I've got to change that behavior. But I'm never going to fix it. It doesn't go away. It just means I better understand how we work. And then it may change over time. And that's just a part of the relationship.
So in your prepare part of, tough conversation where, we had spoken about at the beginning of the conversation, the owner has thought about it and they prepared it and they, done. I want to unpack a part of space for a second, because my 14-year-old son was home for the last couple weeks for the holiday. And when I think about teenagers, I often think about they want to have their conversations when they're ready, not when you're ready. Mm-hmm. And that is, first of all, it's so challenging because parents have so many other things going on in their life. And it's like, okay, now I have time. And he's like, well, I want to play video games now, or I'm going here, or whatever it is, right? So my husband and I really made this pact that, during the holiday break, like one of us would always be emotionally present or available. So he would get the signal, like, because here's the thing, they sneak in the kitchen and they're like, oh, dad's on his phone, mom's over here, it's not a good time. And then they retreat back, right? And so you miss the windows.
Yeah.
So I literally spent half the holiday on the couch doing absolutely nothing. And eventually he like crawled on the couch and he was like, oh, what are you doing? And like eventually he started talking to me. But that's because I literally was doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I often think about in schools, like directors and leaders, we want to have the conversation when we're ready, at whatever time we're available. What if the other person's not emotionally available or emotionally present in that moment? Like, how do we bridge that? Yeah, how do we bridge that gap?
In a work situation,
yeah,
typically the one with the higher authority is the one who makes the time and initiates.
Yeah.
Does it work the other way around? Yes. Every time I talk to people that are employees of a CEO, and I talk to the CEOs and groups and whatnot, I go, do you want your people to engage with you and give you feedback? The answer is always yes. Now,
sure.
Is that what they really mean? Most of them, yeah. I'll take them for what they're saying, but some people will say it and not mean it. As far as what you're talking about, being emotionally available and being ready for the conversation, that's part of the planning where you're like, when would be the best time for us to engage? And it's not just your energy level and your commitment to solving. It's, do I think this other person's available? For example, this wouldn't happen, but if you had on your mind, I'm going to have the tough conversation with Sarah today, and she walked in the office and she obviously looked like she was closed off. Maybe she'd been crying. Maybe there was just something where she just, been in traffic or something. She comes in. It might not be the best time to have that conversation. The best thing you could do there would be ask a question. Hey, are you okay? Mm-hmm. What happened? Mm-hmm. You show a caring, empathetic tone and voice, and you then come back and go, I really need to have that conversation. I'm going to give it a couple of hours. And you might even plant a seed. Hey, in a couple of hours, when you get into work, I'd love for us to take 15 minutes or have a little bit of a chat. You don't have to give the details, and just say, I want to give you some space. When you're ready, let's talk about it. Or can we talk about it after lunch? I like that style of tuning into someone, because it's a sign that you're present about what's going on in their life. Because obviously if they were crying, you wouldn't just push forward like, hey, I meant to do this. It's on my calendar. I got to have the conversation now.
And it's now. Now's the only time, because then I have to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing, Jean, is like, I'm guilty of that. I used to be that leader. And the only way I was able to shift away from that was I stopped overscheduling myself. I stopped overcommitting, because I really saw one of the most important roles is in being in this leadership position was the space to have these beautiful conversations with my team.
Yeah, overscheduling is a problem that we've all had. I don't think about it as time management anymore. I really look at energy management.
Absolutely.
And it's a newer kind of shift that a lot of people are doing.
Sure.
When do I bring my highest level of energy and focus and discipline and creativity to certain situations? For me, it's in the morning. I like to protect that. I like to do my best work in the morning. This is not about productivity, but you want to make sure that you're having your tough conversations at the energy level where you're ready, but also the other one's ready to receive. You may never have the perfect moment. There's no such thing as perfect. You as a mom know that. But there is a better time than others. And sometimes you do have to go, hey, something's been on my mind. I know that you may not be ready for this or scheduled for this, but we really need to have a conversation about X.
Yeah. Could
we do that now? And you come in with that tone of authority, but also of caring.
Yeah.
Hard to do, but it's just being intentional. One of the things that I've seen inside of my own world, my clients, it is so helpful to be intentional to anything you're doing, whatever it is. I showed up today, put on a fresh shirt for you. I was very
Thank you, Jean.
I rested before I came in so that I wasn't trying to scramble, 7 different things and come in kind of frazzled. I was truly excited about being here, be present. I manage my energy for this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
The problem with tough conversations is we don't actually get to do that in advance. You are managing your energy when it's best for you, but that may not be the best time for your recipient of your tough conversation.
One of the chapters, well, a couple of chapters, you talk about where leaders unintentionally sabotage tough conversations. Can you share, I guess, one of the most common sabotage that leaders do?
The most common is avoidance.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not my job to say this right now. Or I don't know if I should address this or not. Is it big enough issue or not? Honestly, looking at the data, looking at all the rhythms of tough conversations I've guided people through for 10 years or plus, the smaller things are the easiest ones to have a tough conversations with. So if you're ever facing something with someone's just a little bit out of alignment, that's a much easier place to test your skills than, oh my God, we think completely different on this. Their attitude off the charts and I need them to be over here. I'd rather you have early and often conversations. One of the things that me and my wife had to, I'll put in air quotes for those that might be watching the video, discuss and have a tough conversation on is what do we include in the book and not include in the book?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
And editing this book for us was not easy. What it looked like was 3 hours, 3 days a week of us alone sitting on the couch with our laptops discussing each chapter, the stories, the tools, the flow, tone, humor or not humor, whatever it is. And we debated over one part of the book that I think is one of the most important pieces of the book that we added fairly late into the game, which was on page 35, there's the 4 phases of a tough conversation. And I bring it up because my wife goes, you don't need it. And I go, well, I've been having these coaching calls where I'm talking people through and helping them be prepared and confident and have a more effective tough conversation. And I think it's different. She goes, I don't see it as being different. And I said, well, if you've talked to someone about something for the 3rd time, you may have a little bit more of frustration inside you. You may have a little bit less patience, if you will. You just want to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what I expect from you and do it. That's on the 3rd conversation. But on the first one, it's a very different tone. And the way we've defined it in the book is phase 1 is understand and clarify, which is a little bit more of a curiosity take. You ask questions, you probe, you dialogue. Those are really important. The sabotage that happens along with that, avoidance is certainly a big thing, but a lot of people will think about phase 1 and not have the conversation. They will think about phase 2, which is name the pattern, and not have the conversation. They will think about phase 3, be direct, draw the line in the sand, put a PIP, a PIP, a performance improvement plan for those that don't know what I'm talking about, written down. They will put all those aside and wait till phase 4 and just say, I can't take it anymore. It's time to exit that person or fire them. That's the wrong approach to take. You want to make sure you're scanning across your team and looking for a tough conversation that could be had. And in my world, I would love to have the little ones so that they don't grow into big problems and that we catch them before they get to be too far off alignment. And it's an easier, softer conversation. There's less defensiveness when it's a small thing. And those are the 2 big areas, I think, for sabotage.
Yeah, I love that. I often think of the story. I mean, it's probably a metaphor where it's like when a donkey, like his baggage is off kilter, if he's still standing, it takes one person just to rebalance the donkey. But once the donkey falls, it takes 10 people to pick the donkey back up.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's the same concept, right? Like readjust and create alignment. It'll just take you 5 minutes. But if you wait till the person's on the floor, you're done. It's so unnecessary. One of the questions I'm really curious about is, you've been doing this for a long time, right? You've been married for a long time. You've walked people through so many moments of courage, because that's where I really look at a tough conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what still really inspires you about the power of this kind of honest dialogue?
I have not always been a coach. I really believe the reason I'm a coach is, and it's my purpose in the world, is to transform others and to be better leaders, to be better fathers or wives and be better husbands and mothers and whatnot. I don't do family coaching and whatnot.
I know. Yeah.
But I'm looking at the whole person.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this and I want to see a transformation. I can get into the strategy of leadership as well as anyone, which is like holding people accountable or how do you empower someone. But the real work that I do and what really fuels me is helping people transform. One of my recent clients said to me the other day, he gets a lot of anxiety when things don't go his way. And he struggles with this a while. And a lot of it comes from him just pushing himself and pushing his company, because most of my work is fast growth companies. I don't know why. That's why I chose to work in this group. I ran a fast growth company and it was very challenging. I had a coach. They helped me.
Very attractive, Gene.
They were attracted to me. And I was curious about these growth-oriented companies. And it's not growth for the like a flash in the pan growth. Like a lot of my clients and many of our best work is done with people that have made the list 5 times or 6 times or 10 times. It's crazy the consistency they have. But I absolutely love helping someone. And so when I give a tough conversation, I see it through the lens of this is feedback to help you grow. This is feedback. If you think about anybody in your life that has helped you, and maybe they said something, maybe they didn't even know you that well. I could tell you a couple of stories that happened over 20 years ago where I remember the conversation and they were small things, but that person showed me a blind spot or an insight that I didn't see for myself. It was a blind spot, which those are tough conversations to address with people, but they did it. And I look at that person as someone who really shined a light on myself that I wasn't able to see before. And I am better because they did it. When you add all those things up, you look at that, and I look at the work I've done as a coach, you see people are growing. And so then you look and say, this tough conversation is a tool that if I do it well, if I learn the skills, if I can figure out a way to make it a little bit better, maybe they receive it a little bit better. Maybe it's just, it rebuilds trust a little bit faster. It makes it better for everyone around us, including the 2 people, but also the other people in the team and around you. And it becomes a natural part of the way we engage with others. Radical Candor is a great book.
Oh, I love that book.
You read it.
Of course.
And it's about having the courage to say what really needs to be said. We wrote our book as a companion to the book, not officially, but we saw that there was some tactical things that were missing, and they didn't give the details and the frameworks that we wanted to include. That's the reason at the top of the book it says a nothing but tactics series for leaders. It's meant to be very practical and actionable, which is what everyone told us they wanted in a book.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it does. It does. I mean, there's no, it's not a multiple choice kind of thing. You were talking about, shine a light. And I was driving back from Orlando yesterday. I spoke there. And so I had a 4-hour trip home. So I was listening to a lot of different podcasts. And I heard this quote. This person was talking about, I don't know who said the quote because he was quoting someone else. But the quote was, when you look back in life, you see the man, you see the path, but you don't see the fog. And there's so many ways to interpret that. And I started writing a whole podcast series just on that quote, because when you're in the fog and in the thick of things, you don't have visibility, you don't have clarity. And a coach really comes in and has visibility because they're not in your fog, and they can shine a light and show you. And so I just really thought of that when you were describing just your experience and why you're a coach right now and what you're doing with this book of how to have tough conversations. The school leader that's listening to this is Schools of Excellence. This podcast is for leaders that run schools, whether it's small organizations or large franchise and corporations. they're having conversations with parents, with stakeholders, with community leaders, with members of government even. The book has dozens of tactics. Please get a copy of the book. Please read through it. It's the way that the book is designed is really for you to flip back and forth. You don't have to read it like a nonfiction storytelling book. It's like, go to the tactics and stuff that you know you need. And that's why I appreciate the way that you guys structured the book. But for you, what would be a strategy that you're like, I really want you guys to know this one? Like, this is a really important one.
You've talked about it, but it's planning.
Yeah.
One of the things that we took a lot of care to do is to put in there actual questions that we feel like.
I love that part. Yeah, because I'm a question girl, so I love that.
Questions are such a powerful way. I can tell you the way to think. It might work. And I've used this before, but I get this. But if your husband told you, honey, to calm down.
I always tell him, grow taller. Whenever he tells me, I'm like, grow taller. Can you grow taller right now? Great. I can't calm down right now.
But if he had a conversation where there was questions like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
What got you upset? What are you feeling right now?
Yeah.
And if he asked the right question, he would lead you to a place of, you know what, I need to just take a few breaths, and maybe you might say, I need to calm down. And it's perfectly fine for you to say it. But for some external person, especially your husband, to say, just calm down. I mean, I can't imagine what would happen if your kid said it.
Yeah.
But you ask questions. So we put in there, I don't know, a dozen questions. Could you add your own questions? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But open up the chapter. I've got sticky notes on my book, my version.
Yeah, here's a copy of the book for those that are watching the video format.
And I have a blue sticker on this one, so you can't see it. But there's a dozen questions in here. A couple of my favorites. If you happen to have a tough conversation with someone, it's usually they're out of alignment. And I get it. We want to blame that other person, but there's no power in blaming the other person. If you're the director of a school, or you're the what's the headmaster? What is that? What is the top?
The owner.
The owner.
Yeah.
And you've got a director or a teacher that's out of alignment. You might ask yourself, how did I contribute to where we are right now?
I love that one.
It takes ownership into it, and you can use that in the conversation. We actually give you a little bit of a framework to go, if you've got to engage the conversation, say, this is a serious conversation. That tells them that, hey, pay attention. We need to talk about X. And to be honest with you, I feel like I have let you down. I should have addressed this a month ago when I first saw it, when it was a smaller issue. Now it's not. It's an issue that we have to kind of pause and reflect on. And you're saying directly how you've contributed to that conversation. It could be that you didn't set expectations well enough. Hey, I didn't make this clear that you're supposed to be in your room when the bell rings, so that you're not getting in there afterwards trying to get your cup of coffee. You have to be in the room when the class starts. Obviously, these are small things, but if you take the time to go through the planning process, you download the questions or whatever it is. I'll give them to you for free if you want them. But just do the work. And the funny thing is, I've asked a lot of people this one question: who do you need to be to have this conversation? It's in the book. There's a specific chapter, and I think it was Todd Herman, which is one of my loves this question. Who do you need to be? And most of my clients will say some version of, I need to be calm and prepared.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, well, what happens when you're calm and prepared? The world opens up. Like, you're no longer bringing the frustration, the negative energy to the moment. You're not being defensive, and you're not being a victim. You're not being attacked. And when you're prepared, you get your data together. You get your dates. You get your, how many times has this happened? I'm not saying you need to use it against them. You just need to have it so that you can say, you know what, this isn't the first time. And I just thought I'd watch this. It's happened 7 times in the last 2 weeks. And I just wanted to have a conversation with you, whatever it is. And so I would say, if I had to tell anyone to do anything, is go through those questions and be prepared for their next conversation. It will go smoother. They will be a little bit more aware, like one of the other questions I love is, how is this person likely to respond? Some people are criers. It just is the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be mostly women, but I know men who cry too.
Yes.
And it's very difficult for many leaders to deal with someone who's crying. So if you know in advance, you thought in advance, hey, this person has cried before when I've tried to give them feedback, they take it a little bit, they're kind of sensitive. Great. Use that to your advantage and figure out how you can lead into the conversation without triggering that. At least you're trying. It may not always work, but you can always be confident that if you're intentional about the way you show up, you've done your best, and then you can still continue to work with them as you discuss and dialogue on the topic.
I love it. I love it. Jean, where can people go to find your book? Obviously, wherever books are sold, but where can they go to find out more about you and your work?
Yeah. I mean, the name of my company is Core Elevation. It's spelled the way it probably sounds, but you could also Google Jean Hammett, which is probably written everywhere.
Yeah.
There's only one Jean Hammett that I know inside of the world. But wherever you buy books online, it's not in formal bookstores. We're self-published. We wanted to move fast. We didn't get a formal publishing deal. Maybe we'll do that down the road. It's selling really well.
Amazing.
I'm really happy of the impact it's making, but you can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I think you can even get it at like Walmart online books and things like that, Target. So yeah, wherever you buy online books.
Yeah. Jean, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I was excited to have it. I've dug into it. I have dog-eared a lot of the stuff here. So I highly encourage all the leaders that are listening to this to get this book, because I believe there's so many phenomenal tactics inside of here. So thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us. If your accountant has ever told you to cut back on professional development or slash your teacher appreciation budget or your staff development budget just so you could stay afloat, or has told you, hey, you probably can't go invest in that program, please listen. The problem is not that you're spending too much money on your people or yourself or your investment or your support system. It's that your school has invisible money leaks that are draining your profit, leaks that no spreadsheet will ever catch or accountant. So I created the 6 money leaks of schools that show you the 6 core areas that schools lose money every single month without realizing it. If you close even one of them, your profits will start to soar without sacrificing your team. Go get it now and stop blaming the things that are actually building your school.